Also, Molnupiravir, an antiviral drug which is made by the pharma major Merck, has also been manufactured here in India by 13 companies and will be used for treatment of adult patients who have a high risk of progression of disease. So while the rollout of the two new vaccines has been announced, whether or not these are going to be used as boosters is unclear at the moment. Whether there's vaccine mixing which has been approved with Covaxin or Covishield is also unclear at the moment. Let's go across to a panel of experts joining us to make sense of these two new developments. We have Dr. Rajiv Jayadevan, Vice Chairman of Research Cell, Kerala State IMA member, also member of the National IMA Task Force on Coronavirus. We have Dr. Swapnil Parikh, physician and author of The Coronavirus, Everything You Need to Know About the Global Pandemic. Thank you both very much for being with us on NDTV. This is a huge announcement, Dr. Jayadevan, that has been made today. Mansukh Mandavia, their health minister, tweeting, calling it a hat trick. But do we have any clarity yet on whether either of these two vaccines that has been given emergency use authorization is going to be used as a booster?
At this time, the choices that are available to people in India are Covishield, Covaxin, and these two approved vaccines. Now, once these become available, they could potentially become one of the preferred choices. The reason is, as my friend Dr. Parikh would have agreed, and he had in fact tweeted very early on this, that the protein subunit vaccine could outperform other vaccines available in India as a booster dose. Specifically, if you look at the British trial that looked at a menu of different vaccines, protein subunit vaccines compared to other vaccines did very well, not only in increasing the antibody response, but also in improving the cellular immunity response compared to inactivated as well as adenovirus vector vaccines. In plain English, it simply means that it appears to hold an edge over the other two at this point, but these are early informations, and we'll really have to look at more data to really see if there is a discernible difference.
That's the question, right? Is there data to prove that these vaccines mixed with either Covishield or Covaxin elicit an enhanced antibody response against Omicron, and that's really the cause of concern at the moment? So, Dr. Jayadevan, just a quick allied question. Do we have any clarity on that data?
At this point, we know that people who are double vaccinated, who represent a huge number of people in our country, are well protected from severe disease and death against all variants.
Right.
Now, what we do know is that even from highly vaccinated nations, we have seen that Omicron has the ability to leap past vaccine protection. Now, Delta had that ability as well, and we noticed that in India as well. So this is nothing new.
Okay.
But people must understand the difference between an infection in the nose and throat compared to severe disease and death. Both are completely different entities that are handled by different departments of our immune system.
But you're
so
saying,
our vaccines are...
So you're saying that while our vaccines are lifesavers in a certain sense, you could potentially still get infected, of course, but you have a much higher chance of developing lesser complications or death if you've been double vaccinated, and now hopefully with boosters coming in, that will only enhance the protection. Dr. Parikh, the other good news is the approval of an antiviral drug. What more can you tell our viewers about this drug? Under what conditions should it be used? Who should use it? And when?
Molnupiravir is an antiviral for COVID-19. It's named after Thor's hammer. So the Avenger from Marvel's movies, it's named after his hammer. What this antiviral does is, in the coronavirus's replication, there is something known as RDRP. Think of it like a scanner printer. So the coronavirus has a RNA genome. Think of this like a string. And what RDRP does is it scans the string and it makes numerous copies of that string while the virus is replicating. What Molnupiravir does when it's given at the right time, it introduces some errors. So it introduces errors in the replication process of the string and makes defective copies of that virus.
Okay.
This drug has to be given twice a day for 5 days, and it has to be started as early as possible after the first positive test or symptom onset. So
who should get it? Because who should get it? Because the thing is that, what one has so far understood is that any kind of anti-COVID drugs, or whether it is, the use of steroids that one has seen in the past, there has also been that fear of misuse, excessive use, people who don't necessarily need it, trying to get the drug just because it has been, labeled as an anti-COVID drug. So very important question, Dr. Parikh, if you can answer that as well, on who should get it.
So the individuals who should get it are those who have tested positive and are symptomatic, but within 5 days of onset from symptoms,
okay,
and who are at high risk of progressing to severe COVID-19. So either because of their age or because of high-risk pre-existing medical conditions, they have a higher chance of progressing to severe COVID-19. Eventually, once more trials are conducted, once supply is greater, this could probably even be used for individuals who don't fit that risk profile, or once trials are conducted, expand that. But currently, when there is a constraint in the supply available, as well as trials haven't progressed beyond a certain point, it should be used early in high-risk individuals.
All right, very interesting. That you say that it has to be used for high-risk individuals, people who have a chance of, disease progression, COVID becoming serious for those individuals. And I think the one thing that we can't highlight enough is the fact that all of this information has to be cross-checked, verified by your doctor. Don't try and hoard or buy any of these drugs that are available just off the shelf. But Dr. Jayadevan, just talking about the vaccine once again, both these vaccines that have been granted emergency use authorization, Covovax and Corbevax, are also 2-dose vaccines. Both one used, I think, 28 days apart, and the other recommended to be given, 21 days apart. What more can you tell us about these two vaccines?
Yes, at this time, we know that India still has quite a few individuals who have not been vaccinated. I think that number will be approximately 90 million. So that's an extraordinary number of adults. I'm talking about adults, not children here. So there's clearly a lot of scope for more vaccines to come in and for people to get vaccinated. Now, for our viewers, I'll explain what a subunit vaccine is. I know it sounds like Greek, subunit. Subunit basically means that you manufacture the components of this virus, which is a spike protein, using another organism. Now, one of them uses yeast and the other uses moth cells. So basically you're asking another organism, you give the organism a genetic code of this spike protein and tell them, hey, you go and make this for me. So these organisms, which are basically lab cells, they manufacture these proteins, that is spike proteins, and you couple that with an adjuvant, which is something that stimulates your immune response, just like our Covaxin. So, and then you inject it. So subunit vaccine have received a lot of promotion earlier on, but for some reason they did not really come on in a big way in the international market.
Okay.
When tried in South Africa against a beta variant, they were modestly successful at only 49%. But a more recent study, which was published in the New England Journal, did produce a very, very impressive symptomatic relief, which is in the range of 8 to 9%. But that again was mostly against the alpha variant. But we know that the more components we have in our armament, the better placed we are.
Okay. Dr. Parikh, last question to you. Speaking about these two new vaccines, do we have clarity on efficacy data of these two vaccines at the moment?
For Novavax, that's the Covovax vaccine we do, and it has run through extensive clinical trials in the UK, USA and Mexico, where it's not just its efficacy, but also its adverse effect profile, very favorable. Puts it right up there with the mRNA vaccines, 90 plus efficacy against symptomatic disease. However,
that's a company claim right now, right?
No. These studies have been published in as preprints and as peer-reviewed publications.
Right. Okay.
In the New England Journal.
And what about Corbevax?
Corbevax, right now we don't have data from a clinical trial. What I was coming to is with the Novavax candidate, not only do we have a very robust clinical trial in adults, but that clinical trial, there's also a very good clinical trial going on in the pediatric population.
Right.
So this would eventually, once that data is out, once it's published, it could also eventually become a frontline candidate for pediatric vaccination.
All right. Dr. Jayadevan, finally, the $1 million question is, when will these vaccines be rolled out? Because, we saw Zycov-D also being approved for use in children, but we haven't seen a rollout yet. We know that it's probably the Covaxin vaccine that's going to be administered to the 15 to 18 age group from the 3rd of January. So any clarity, on timelines for rollout?
I do not know the timeline for the rollout of these two newly approved vaccines, I'm afraid. But we know that, as you said, Covaxin is considered safe in the limited trials that they have done in children. I think about 525 children have been studied with Covaxin with no safety issues. I know that's a small number, but it's believed that inactivated vaccines in general are benign vaccines in terms of the side effect profile, especially compared to mRNA vaccines and adenovirus vector vaccines. So as it stands, Covaxin appears to be the vaccine of choice for children who need it.
All right. Well, thank you, doctors, very much for joining us. Those are crucial announcements, and I think you've really helped us to make sense of, some of those vaccines that have been approved, and of course the new antiviral drug that's been given emergency use authorization. One sincerely hopes this goes a long way in our fight against the pandemic. Thanks very much for joining us. With that, we're slipping into a short break. We'll bring you more news on the other side. Stay with us.